How's it going, everyone? This is Cloud Chief. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the Dullahan Ambuscade. This ambuscade pits you up against a Dullahan, and if you're doing it on easy or higher, you also have to deal with a unicorn. This ambuscade really is all about the DPS, and I don't mean having big DPS numbers to win. I mean that really the mechanic for this month falls on your DPS, and if your DPS screw up, then it is going to cause your party to wipe. So what I mean by it's on your DPS is you need to control when you're actually hitting the mob, when you're TPing the mob, and when you're weapon skilling the mob. You need to be doing certain stuff at certain times, and if you're not, basically then the boss is going to punish you or other things, but we'll get into that as I'm talking about the actual boss mechanics. So before we get into that, let's talk about party setup real quick. First off, I think anyone who is a decent tank can definitely tank this. You can definitely take this with a paladin, rune fencer, ninja, or even warrior. I think could handle it. Heck, I'd even say if you have the right build, I'd even say a samurai going in, possibly Segan tanking. I'm not sure how well Segan works on these NMs, but I mean, if you have a decent damage taken set, decent immunity set so you can keep hate, and like I said, and then Segan actually works, I could potentially even see Sam tanking this. There's no penalty this month on support jobs, so you definitely want to bring like your Corsair, you want to bring your Geo, and you want to bring a Bard. You especially want a Bard because you want to be able to finale Dread Spikes and any other like nasty buffs that the mob gets. I remember tanking this on Ninja back when we had this ambuscade before, probably about a year ago, and actually using Megawari to mitigate a lot of the punish mechanics on Ninja, which was actually pretty cool. However, for whatever reason, Sentinel Chorizo from Bard that does the same exact thing as Megawari does not work. So I find it weird that it actually works for one job and then the same exact spell that another job has, yet his AoE doesn't work. And that's probably why they did it, because they didn't want you just to have a Bard and just keep putting that spell up just to mitigate the whole damage for all the party, and then it just makes it way too easy. For this month, personally, so far, I've only done it with the melee strat, and I was actually tanking it on Paladin. So pretty much what we did was, as soon as we were done buffing, I go ahead and pull both the mobs to the corner, and we actually started with the Unicorn. The Unicorn isn't too bad, but there are two things that you need to be careful of. He has a frontal conal move that's something called Lance that is high damage, and unless you are good at mitigating magic damage, so either a Paladin with Aegis, or if you're like Ninja using Megawari, or if you're a rune fencer, you want to be able to have some, magic deflection to be able to survive that move and make sure that no one else is standing in front of it. So if you have a Sam DD, don't be standing in front trying to use Overwhelm, or if you're not in your DP or damage taking gear, you very well could get one shot at when it does the move. Also, whenever the Unicorn does a TP move, any damage it receives heals it. So this is one of the things I was talking about earlier, that your damage dealers need to be on their toes. As soon as he does a TP move, you guys need to turn your back, so you're no longer, hitting the mob and, healing him. And then as soon as his TP move is done, just hop right back on him and go back to work. Just do that until he goes down, and he should go down relatively quickly. Once he's down, we go ahead and start on the Dullahan. And the Dullahan, for one, actually has a shield, and he will shield block a lot. So you want to make sure that no one is facing the front except for, of course, the tank who is holding hate. Everyone else wants to be to his back to try and maximize his damage so he's not getting in any shield blocks. So when you're fighting the Dullahan, there are 3 messages that could pop up in your log, and you need to be able to react accordingly. So if you are DPS or anyone who is on the mob, you want to make sure you have enough filters on so you are not missing this message. That is very important. The first message that'll pop up is that the Dullahan is charging. The second is that he is boiling, that his rage is boiling over. And then the third is miasma. So when you see your log come up that the Dullahan is charging up, basically that means he's going to either do boiling over or miasma. So what you want to do is you want to keep TPing on the mob, but do not weapon skill at this point. Literally just hold your TP and just keep TPing on the mob. One of three things will happen. Either you won't get another message after about 10 to 15 seconds, which means just go back to, normal DPS, burning it down as normal. The second option could be that his rage is boiling over. If his rage is boiling over, it starts to work somewhat like Pain Sink. The concept is the same, is that once his rage is boiling over, any damage done to him when he does his next TP move, any damage that the mob receives amplifies the damage that the next TP move is going to do. The difference here is when Pain Sink is done in Omen, Pain Sink only lasts about, somewhere between 5 to 10 seconds where the mob readies the move, and any damage done in that short time frame makes Pain Sink deal out more damage. So basically, when Pain Sink goes off, all you need to do is turn your back, wait till Pain Sink goes off, then start DPSing again. For the Dullahan, when he starts boiling, if you have any melees, you want everyone to get back further than 20 yalms. You want to be at least 21 yalms, and have everyone out except for your tank. If you're obviously a ninja at this point, putting up Miganwari is advised. At this point, what we did is we actually had our Geo and White Mage start spamming Stone 1 on the mob to feed it TP. That way, when he does his next TP move, that actually kicks off the Pain Sink mechanic. And as long as no one ended up popping off a weapon skill when they should only be TPing from it charging, but ended up popping a weapon skill off as soon as it boiled over, I took about 300 damage on Paladin, which wasn't a big deal. But of course, if someone weapon skilled, I'm taking like 4,000 damage or more. So if you're going melee strat, as soon as you see boiling, have everyone except for the tank get far away from it, and then just start feeding it TP to force its TP moves to go off. As soon as the next TP move goes off, it's safe to go back to normal and start fighting it again. If miasma is the message that comes up, then your melees need to weapon skill, which is also a really good point for why you just want to be TPing when it's charging, so that way if miasma does pop up, you can weapon skill. As soon as you pop off your weapon skill though, you want to at least back up and stop DPSing the mob for a second. I'm not saying you necessarily want to run away, but you don't want to keep doing damage to it. The reason is, oftentimes miasma, when you stop that, miasma will then convert over to boiling, and then you got to follow the boiling mechanic. Sometimes it'll just break miasma and then you can continue DPSing as normal. But also miasma can go over to boiling. So if it goes over to boiling, you need to follow everything in the boiling mechanic as I just explained. So have all the melees get out of range and again start feeding it TP until you kick off the next TP move and then go back to normal. So if you end up doing too much damage to boiling, his next TP move is going to do ridiculous damage and wipe your tank. If you don't actually do enough damage during miasma, so like weapon skilling, then he's going to do a very nasty just instant KO move that'll just kill anyone who is in range, and the range is, I think this one might actually be 30 yalms. It's either 20 or 30 yalms, but anyway, it's a really large instant KO if you don't actually break miasma. And there's definitely times where we knew we didn't break it, and then we just ended up having the tank die while everyone else is out of range. Also, if you are a well-geared tank, he is easy to tank even if you are weakened. The only thing you might have to worry about is you lost all your amenity, and now you got to rebuild it up if he's low HP. Chances are it's going to take you a minute to regain hate. So just to reiterate, charging, just TP on it and wait until the next message pops up, or wait about 10-15 seconds and then go back to normal if no other message pops up. If boiling pops up, stop all damage and make sure you get out of range for the next TP move, so only your tank's taking the next TP move, so you're minimizing the chance of death. Or if you get miasma, make sure that you weapon skill him and then stop TP in case it ends up switching from miasma to boiling, and then you gotta follow the boiling mechanic. So getting out of range and then feeding it TP to kick off his next TP move. And as long as you follow that, this honestly is a relatively easy ambuscade. It just really comes down to the DPS making sure that they throttle at the right time when they're dumping in their damage. If they're doing damage at the wrong time, it can just very easily instant wipe the full party. The thing about this is, it is actually a very easy NM to kite as long as you have the unicorn taken out. It is very easy to just kite this guy around. So we've even had times where it was like full white, and then we get just me as the tank back up, and then I just immediately go and grab the Dullahan and just start kiting it around until we recover, just so he isn't regaining HP and we don't have to start the whole fight over again. So if, you know, crap starts hitting the fan, it's easy enough for you to actually kite and wait until you recover. Just make sure you keep an eye on that clock so you don't run out of time and time out. When the Dullahan does get low on HP, he will like to spam Dread Spikes. So if you are a dual wielding melee and you hit really fast, as you probably are because you're likely super buffing for this, be very careful when he gets low on HP and watch for Dread Spikes, and make sure one of your supports gets Dread Spikes off. And I've seen him literally have Dread Spikes removed. He'll put Dread Spikes right immediately back up again. They get removed and then he puts them right back up again. So keep an eye out for that, because you don't want your melees instantly killing themselves with Dread Spikes up, because I've definitely seen that happen. You also can Summoner Burn it. I've seen Summoner Burns done with this. Really, the weight of this month really does come down to your DDs following directions and making sure that they're DPSing at the right time and paying attention, because that's what's going to either cause you to have success or cause your party to drop on its face. In terms of where to go to get the key item, there are 3 decent places that I know of, and interestingly enough, 2 of them you can kind of access from the same place. So you go to Inner Rekosner Court, so you can literally go to the last home point spot on your home point crystal. If you've cleared all of Adeline, you can warp there and just go run down all the way at the end of the hallway. One way is go to the left, and then you'll actually go up and you'll take a portal where you'll end up in Sidrus Caverns. As soon as you end up there, just run down the tunnel to open up in the main hallway, and there should be about 4 Dullahans in that room with a bunch of other mobs. Other option is the same home point. You run down, except for instead of going to the left, you go to the right. And you go to the right, and you're going to have to wrap around some corridors a little bit, but then you'll eventually come out to an opening, and there'll be a bunch of gargoyles there, and then there will be 4 Dullahans back behind the gargoyles. So you can go ahead and head there to go ahead and take up the Dullahans. And the last really good place to get the key item that I know of is to go to Sizek Battlegrounds Biv number 1 and then go ahead and ride your mount to G11. This will go ahead and warp you into Cygates as long as you have cleared the Wild's Keep Reeve with the B. And as soon as you end up in Cygate, just go ahead and run up the hill, and as soon as the cave opens up, there should be a bunch of Dullahans in there. So that is 3 different places to go ahead and get the key item. And that about wraps up this guide for the Dullahan Ambuscade. I hope you guys got some value out of it, and as always, may you have success in all you do.